In this video, we're going to be taking a look at addition and subtraction word problems. And the essential question that we are going to answer is, how can the strategy work backward help you solve a problem with fractions that involve addition and subtraction? Now, you will need to turn your Go Math book to page 277, get out your math journal and a pencil. Okay, let's take a look at that problem on page 277. It says the Diaz family is cross-country skiing the Big Tree Trails, which have a total length of 4 miles. Yesterday they skied the 7/10 mile Oak Trail. Today they skied the 3/5 mile Pine Trail. If they plan to ski all of the Big Tree Trails, how many more miles do they have left to ski? So what we're going to do, we're going to take a look at that graphic organizer on page 277 to help us figure out the answer to the problem. So first of all, what we need to do, what do we need to find? And what we do is we take a look at that problem, and basically a lot of times what we have to do is we need to find the distance they have left to ski. And let's just write, they need to find the distance they have left to ski. Okay, we don't need to capitalize that T, just like that. Okay, so let's write that in. So that's what we're trying to find. And then we need to take a look at the information that we are going to use. Okay, what we need to do is we need to use the distance they have already skied. Okay, and the distance that they plan to ski. And we'll just write the distance, and I'll just write it here at the bottom. This is getting a little messed up here. And the distance they have planned to ski. Okay, so we need to use the distance they have already skied and what they plan to ski. Alright, now how are we going to use this information? Alright, what we can do is we can work backwards by starting with the total distance, and let's write that in. So we're going to take a look at the total distance. We have done this before with just regular problems, not fractions. So the total distance and subtract, and I'm just going to write actually a subtraction sign. Subtract each distance they have already skied to find the amount they have left. So that's how we're going to use that information. Okay, so taking a look at that graphic organizer, we need to use the distance that they have already skied. Alright, so miles skied yesterday, 7/10 of a mile. Miles skied today, 3/5, okay, of a mile. Miles they need to ski, that's going to be the M, and also the total distance. Okay, so we can see, so all of this is going to equal 4. Alright, now what we need to do, we need to work backwards. So taking all of this, we need to start working backwards. So we start working backwards to find M, the miles they need to ski. So we take 4, and we're going to subtract 7/10. And then we're going to subtract 3/5, and that is going to give us M. So that's the problem. So what we're doing is taking 7/10 away from 4 first of all. So we're going to change that 4 to a 3, and then we're going to put 10/10 over here. Okay, now we have 10/10 minus 7/10 is going to give us 3/10. Now we have 3 and 3/10. You can see the process here. We need to subtract 3/5 from that 3 and 3/10. Now what I did is I changed that 3/5 into 6/10 to have a common denominator. 3/10 minus 6/10, you cannot do that, so you need to regroup. Take that 3, change the ink here, change that 3, make it into a 2. Then we're going to add 10/10 to my 3/10, making this actually 13/10. So now we have 13/10 minus 6/10 is going to give me 7/10. And 2 minus 0 is going to give me 2, which gives us our answer, 2 and 7/10. So the family has 2 6.7 miles left to ski. So we started out adding everything together, giving us our total distance, then working backwards. 4 minus 7/10 minus 3/5 gave us our m, and our m was 2 7/10. Okay, let's take a look at that problem on page 278. Okay, you can see at the top it says, as part of their study of Native American basket weaving, Leah's class is making wicker baskets. Leah starts with a strip of wicker 36 inches long. From the strip, she first cuts one piece but does not know its length, then cuts a piece that is 6.5 inches long. The piece left is 7 3/4 inches long. What is the length of the first piece she cut from the strip? Now, we need to go through this graphic organizer. First of all, what do you need to find? And I want you to write that down. The length of the first piece cut from the strip. We can see that very easily right within our question. Now, how will you use the information? You can work backwards by starting with the total length and subtracting the lengths given to find the length of the first piece cut from the strip. And then what information do I need to use? Actually, those should be backwards there. Okay, what information do I need to use? The lengths of the original strip, the two lengths given from the original strip. So if you copy these down, they're actually backwards on the chart here. Okay, now we have the equation. All right, so we have x. Okay, what that is, that's the length of the first piece that they cut. Okay, so she cuts but does not know its length, so that represents x. And then we're going to add 6.5 inches. You can see right from here in my story problem, 6.5 inches. Then we're going to add the 7 3/4 inches, okay, which is right here, and that's going to give us a total length of 36 inches long. Okay, so that's our original problem. So what we're going to do now is we're going to work backwards to solve x. So the first thing we need to do is take our 36, and from here what we will do, we'll subtract 7 3/4, and then after that we'll subtract 6 1/2, and then after we have taken 6.5 from that problem, what we have here is that will give us our x. Okay, in other words, that will give us the first piece that she cut from the strip. So I want you to write this down in your Go Math book, and let's work backwards together. Okay, so the first step was taking 36 minus 7 3/4. You cannot do that, so we need to borrow a 1 and making that into a fraction of 4/4. Why 4/4? Because we're subtracting 3/4 here. Okay, now what we do, we subtract our fractions. 4/4 minus 3/4 is going to give us 1/4. Okay, and then we could subtract 35 minus 7, and that's going to give me 28. So 28 1/4. Now we're going to subtract that. Take that number, we're going to subtract 6.5 now. Okay, now we need to make a common denominator here. So we're going to take that 6.5. We're going to change that now to 6 2/4 minus 28 1/4. I'll just use different color of ink to show common denominators now. Okay, now we're going to subtract 6 2/4 from 28 1/4. You cannot subtract 2/4 from 1/4, so we need to regroup. Make that 28 into a 27 and add 4/4, making this now 5/4. Okay, now we can subtract 5/4 minus 2/4 is going to give us 3/4. And then we have 27 minus 6 is going to give me 21, for the answer of 21 3/4 inches. So you can see that I started just adding everything together, and then I just worked backwards, starting with my 36, subtracting, and then giving us 21 3/4 inches for the length of the first piece cut from the strip. Okay, I want you to work through the problem in the share and show section all by yourself. When you're finished, you can press play, and I will have the answer for you. So pause the video now. Now I want you to see the answers that I have. You can see the process that I took to get the answer of 1 and 13/20. Now I want you to work through this problem on page 280. You can choose any of those strategies. I know we've been looking at working backwards, but choose any of those strategies. When you're finished, you can press play. I will have the answer for you. So pause the video now. Okay, the answer is 1.5 feet. And there are multiple ways that you could have come up with that answer. Okay, so 1.5 feet. Now let's take a look at that test prep problem. Work through this all by yourself. When you're finished, you can press play, and I will have the answer for you. So pause the video now. Okay, the answer is letter D. And moving to that essential question, how can the strategy work backward help you solve a problem with fractions that involve addition and subtraction? You can write an equation to represent the problem, and then you can work backward to solve the unknown using the inverse operation. So this concludes the video on addition and subtraction word problems. If you have any questions about this concept, please come and see me.